Hello there, it's Jen Bengal here, and thank you so much for coming to hang out with me in this webinar, How to Teach Vocabulary Each Week. I'm so excited to talk about vocabulary with you and show you exactly how I do it and how you can teach vocabulary intentionally, tier 2 instruction, with just 15 minutes a day. First, let me just take a minute to introduce myself to you. My name is Jen. I've been a classroom teacher for 9 years. I also have a master's degree in reading education, and that covers grades K through 12 and a postgraduate degree as a literacy collaborative coordinator. I trained with Irene Fountas and her colleagues in Boston at Lesley University for a few years, and it's there where I learned really how to teach other teachers. I also have 4 kids, and they keep me very busy. I write curriculum full time, which I absolutely love. I've been writing curriculum full time since 2012, and I do a lot of professional development, like these webinars and Facebook Live. I'm on my Facebook page at Out of This World Literacy a lot, and I also visit teachers and do some trainings live as well. This picture got flipped around, but this was me actually training in Boston with a few of the other people I trained with and some of our professors. It was a really intense experience, but I'm so glad I did it. This is a training I hosted in Uganda, where my son is from. I hosted all of these teachers and trained them for 40 hours. It was an amazing week of experience. I also just got back from training another group of teachers in Uganda and helped them learn how to do interactive read alouds. They each have 50 or 60 kids in their class, so if you can imagine having 60 third graders in your classroom, it's pretty intense. And they only really have notebooks and paper and pencils. So I had to teach them how to do interactive read alouds and teach their kids how to build their critical thinking skills with very little resources. So that was a fun challenge and experience, and had a lot of good time with them. I also surprised one of the members of my membership every Teacher Appreciation Week. This year it was the first time I did it, but I'm planning on doing it every year. So if you're a member of my Out of This World Literacy membership, you get to apply for me to come fly to your school and take over your classroom. It's like a teacher takeover, and it's so fun. I flew to Indiana and took over Casey's 4th grade classroom this year. I taught reading, writing, language, spelling, guided reading, intervention, and all of her teacher friends got to come in and watch, and it was an amazing full day experience. It was so fun for me to get back in the classroom and teach too. So it was a great opportunity. This is a chance for me to meet some teachers at a conference and help talk through the intervention program. And this picture is of me in the very first webinar that I had ever hosted. I was super nervous, but I was so glad that I did it. But that's enough about me. I want to welcome you to today's webinar. If you're a classroom teacher and you're looking to advance your your vocabulary instruction into your class, so excited that you're here. Welcome. Welcome to any of the reading specialists that are joining, or any homeschool parents that are here joining me today. Thank you so much for hanging out. Definitely can use this with your homeschool curriculum as well. Any special education student or teachers, sorry, and especially the English language learner teachers, today's webinar is going to be great for you. So I'm so excited that you're here. And welcome to any administrators or curriculum directors that are joining us today. It says a lot about your leadership and your commitment to your students and your staff to be learning vocabulary curriculum and what are these best practices. So I'm excited that you're joining as well. I do have all of my notes provided for you for free, so you can click that link to get the notes at any time, along with the certificate of participation for this webinar. Is this you? Do you want to implement a vocabulary curriculum and you're just not really sure where to start? If that's you, you're definitely in the right spot. Are you wondering if you have enough time to squeeze in another thing, right? We always have a trouble fitting everything in, but if you're wondering if you have enough time to teach vocabulary intentionally, then you are definitely in the right spot today. Maybe you're wondering where to begin. You know you need to do something, but you're not really sure how to start. If that's you, I'm so glad you're here. Maybe you're wondering about planning, managing, and grading your vocabulary. If that's you, you're definitely in the right spot. This is what we're going to go over today. First of all, we're going to talk about the reasons why we should intentionally teach vocabulary. If you know me at all, you know I love to explain the rationale behind things. I think teachers should know why they're doing what they're doing in the classroom, and I also think they should tell their students why they're asking them to do certain things. So we're going to talk about the why. Then we're going to talk about the different types of vocabulary words that we can teach. I'll go through a vocabulary notebook and show you exactly step by step how to set up a vocabulary notebook. And we'll talk about each day of the week, how to teach vocabulary each day of the week for your class. And everything you need to know about managing, teaching, and grading your vocabulary curriculum, I'm going to cover in this webinar today. So we're going to finish, by the end, you're going to have a very clear picture and good understanding of what a vocabulary curriculum could look like in your classroom this year. Let me take you back to July of 2014 for a minute. This is me and my friend Christina DeCarbo from Miss DeCarbo's class. She actually wrote the kindergarten through second grade versions of the vocabulary that we developed. And you can find that by going to primaryvocabulary.com. But this is what she wrote on her blog. She said, 3 years ago, I stood in a casino in Las Vegas with Jen Bengal. We were there for a conference and chatting between sessions. Our conversation turned to what we struggled to teach: vocabulary. Neither of us had the practical tools we needed to explicitly teach vocabulary. Although we had picture books with robust vocabulary, pointing out words and quickly talking about them wasn't making anything stick. My first graders needed something more. Her fifth graders needed something more. We both knew that we needed to do something. And that's exactly what happened. And that's how this vocabulary curriculum was born. We actually spent 3 years reading and researching before we even began writing the first drafts. And then I scratched my entire first draft and started all over. So this is a very big work in progress, and it's not something we just threw together lightly. Why should we teach vocabulary? Number one, the number one reason, attention to vocabulary in a consistent curriculum will result in an increase in students' verbal functioning. So if students are exposed to intentional, consistent vocabulary, their verbal functioning will improve. That's great, and that's reason they're enough, right? Another great reason is for students to use and understand words in the context of reading and writing, they require robust instruction. It's not enough for us to read really good picture books with great vocabulary in it and then say, hey, we're exposing them to vocabulary. That's not enough. We have to actually stop and intentionally teach those vocabulary words to our students. I love this quote from the book Bringing Words to Life. It says, students need to develop an interest in and an awareness of words in order to adequately build their vocabulary repertoires. So not only do they need to develop an interest in, but they have to become aware of the words too. And then when we do those two things in combination, we can help them build a vocabulary banks, or repertoires, as they say. Another reason why vocabulary instruction is so crucial is students begin to really own words and apply them to all aspects of their daily lives when they take an interest and an ownership over those words. You'll start to see the words popping up in their writing. You'll start to hear them using the words in conversation on the way to the lunchroom. And it's really, really a cool thing to see because they really, truly do build their vocabulary repertoires. That 15 minutes a day builds their vocabulary for the rest of their lives. And if you don't know, in the ACTs, when they get to high school and they take their ACTs, which is the big test to help them get into college and what their scores are, one of the big parts of the ACT is vocabulary. So if they're being exposed intentionally to vocabulary instruction from kindergarten on, imagine what their vocabulary repertoires are going to be by the time they hit the ACTs. They don't have to cram for all these words. They're going to understand so many more. And the last reason I have is to develop a lifelong love of words through lively and fun daily instruction. Words are so fun, and it's fun to know big words, and it's fun to say big words and use them in the correct context. So that's another great reason why teaching vocabulary is such a great thing to do. One of the things I have teachers say to me is, my students already know all these words, or they'll take a look at the list of words for the week and they'll think, well, some of my kids are going to already know all these. But I want to challenge you just for a minute to think about this. There are actually 8 shades to understanding a word. The English language is so complex, especially for kids or adults who are learning it as a second language. And not one word doesn't mean just one thing. It can mean a lot of different things. So when we think about, oh, my kids already know this word, I want you to think about, do they know it all the way up to the 8th shade? So these are the shades to knowing a word. Number 1, you don't know the word or you have not heard it at all. So when you hear the word, say the word cantankerous. If a second grader hears that word, they've probably never heard that word before. Or maybe they heard it and they remember hearing it and that's it. That's the second shade. Maybe they have a hypothesis for what the word means, but they really don't know. They're kind of just guessing based on what they remember. The next shade is they have a familiarity with the word. They like knowing it has a positive or a negative connotation. So maybe they know the word cantankerous means something bad or a bad feeling, but they don't really know anything more than that. So they kind of know the connotation of it. The next shade is they know the word in one context and they're not able to use it in any other way. So this happens a lot with our ELL kids. They know the word in a very literal way, but they're not able to recognize that word when it's used in a figurative tone or in an idiom or a saying that we use in our language. So knowing the word one way, but not understanding all the other meanings of the word, because every word has more than one meaning. And they know one meaning of the word well, and they can use it in some other context, but not all the time, and they're not always accurate. And then the next shade is they understand and can use the word in some context, and they know one or two definitions. And to really, really know and understand a word, you have to understand and use the word in context, and you have to be able to use the word in isolation. And you have to know all the multiple meanings, connotations, and figurative uses of a word. So there's more than just I know the word or I don't know the word. You can see how all of these shades kind of build on each other. Let's talk about the different types of words that there are. The first type is tier 1 words, and these are basic words, words that the students have likely seen before and have already used in their conversation for years, like right, left, turn, walk, stop, help, please. Those are all words that they pretty much know. Tier 2 words are context words. These are words that directly impact the meaning of a passage and can often be used in real world experiences. This is where our focus really is with vocabulary instruction. It's tier 2. These are words like winding, jealous, intricate, bombarded, or cantankerous. They really affect the meaning of the story that they're being placed in, and they can also be used in a variety of different ways depending on what the sentence is around the word. And the third type of word is a tier 3 word, and these are genre specific words. So we don't really focus on these in the vocabulary curriculum because they're covered in your subjects like social studies and science. These are words that are only used in a specific genre or subject. Often they're nonfiction in nature, like photosynthesis. You wouldn't use the word photosynthesis to describe how you're feeling, like I'm having a photosynthesis kind of day. It really is just a word used in science, and it has a specific definition for it, like electrons, equator, atoms. Those are all very specific tier 3 words. So all those words in your social studies textbooks and your science textbooks that are bolded, those are tier 3 vocabulary words, and they have specific definitions. So we really focus on tier 1 and tier 2 mostly in vocabulary instruction. Let's talk about notebooks. So why are vocabulary notebooks so great? They're awesome because they keep all the learning in one spot throughout the year. So when you finish a lesson, it doesn't just go away the next week when you start a new list of words. You actually have those words that build on each other from week after week after week. And you get this collection of words. It's like a personal word wall in their notebook. So it lasts forever. It's perfect for referencing for other subjects like writing. So the kids can reference their vocabulary notebook when they're revising and they're looking for stronger language to put into their writing. And that's a great thing to do too. And it's awesome for reflecting on new learning and to be able to retain new words. The words don't just stop on Friday when they get a new set on Monday. They can go, oh yeah, I remember this word when they look back in their notebooks. Oh, I love this word. I'm going to use this more. I'm going to put this in my writing next time, or I'm going to say this to my friends. And it's really a place to go deeper with their vocabulary words. They get to make connections to other words and really bring their words to life. The vocabulary notebook is not just for putting your words in and putting the definitions. It's so much deeper than that. If you know me, you know I like to think critically and have my kids go to a deeper level of thinking. So we do that in the notebook. This is what you need. A notebook for every student, no surprise there. One subject notebook should get you through the year. And extra strong Post-it tabs. Get the extra strong durable tabs. They'll stay forever. And you need 3 per student because you're going to have 3 sections. Pretty simple. And then an ultrafine Sharpie to write with. When you go to the store, Target, or wherever, trust me, I can't emphasize this enough, pick the durable tabs. If you get the pack with 66 in there, it'll be enough for 22 students, and it's worth it. The other tabs just fall off. In the first section of your notebook, you're going to title it My Words, and it's pretty basic, what you would imagine. The kids are going to just basically document their words and the definitions. This is where they're going to build that word wall, and the learning will be there all year. You can have them just put the words in, like in this example, or they can have this glued into their notebook where they have the words and the definitions. They can also just handwrite them in if you would prefer to do that as well. The second section of the notebook is called Connections, and we use the front and back side of our notebook pages. This is where the kids are going to develop a stronger understanding of the words. So the first section is basically you're getting the words in and the definitions, you're documenting. This section, they're going to make connections. So there's a lot of things they can do here. This page comes from the second day of every week where we are associating words with each other. You can have them glue this activity into their notebook, And for those kids who are already knowing the words, or you want to give them a little challenge, you can have them make boxes like this, title it My Connections, and they take the word and write different words that mean the same thing, or phrases. Quickly, fast, hurry, go, 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 race, helpless, no hope, can't fix, at a loss, not good. So you can have them write different phrases or different words or phrases that might replace that word if it were used in a story. You can also have them do word webs like this, where they take the word and they make a bunch of different angles of what that word might mean. So exception might mean breaking a rule. It might mean not like the rest, or that one thing, or not like normal. Those are different ways to say or define the word exception depending on how it's used in context. Disappointed, didn't go as planned, lost hope, sad, let down. Screeched, yelped, screamed, yelled, super scared. Spotted, pointed out, saw, found in a crowd, noticed. So you can see how they can have different angles or different ways of describing and meanings of each of these words. You can also have them do a Venn diagram like this, which is a good challenge. They can pick two of the words and on the outside write a bunch of different things that those words mean, and then on the inside put how they're alike. So mischief, usually always bad, you'll get in trouble, not good choices. Habits can be bad or good, do over and over. Very used to doing this over and over. And in the middle, they have both things you can do. You can do more than one time, and you have a choice with both. So I like how they put that Venn diagram together like that. Another thing you can do in this section to help them build connections to the words and the meanings around them is have them write the word, what it means, and then how it might be used in their life, like selfless, to do things for others. I unlocked the dishwasher or unloaded the dishwasher and nobody even asked me. So that's an example of being selfless. And that's the second section, is connections. And then the third section, they're going to take those connections and then put them into their own life. So the words become part of their own life. And this is really where the words become personal for them. You can write the words along the left here, what they would say if they were to use that word and how they might write about it. So I like to have them glue in the words right at the top like that and then make a 3-column chart like this and have them use as many of the words as they can and put them into an actual context of what they might say and how they might use them in a writing piece. You can also have them glue in other fun things like would you rather situations where they have to know the word to figure out the would you rather. Would you rather have a gigantic dog or a collection of video games, and why? They can answer those and put them in here. Also, you can use these little cards where they have to actually pretend they're talking and using the words. They can go in this section. I love tying a little bit of poetry into vocabulary because there's always such great vocabulary in poems. So I every week have this as an option where the kids can write an acrostic poem using their vocabulary words, and they kind of define and give examples of the word in their poem. So bored is balancing, ordinary, ridiculous, extremely dumb. I love that one. Habits, hard as can be to instantly and timely stop. That's great too. And then never, not expecting very acceptable results. That's a great one too. So they can practice making poems in an acrostic way with their words. So there's your tabs for the notebook. It's very simple, but very powerful. You have my words, connections, and in my life. Let's talk about what happens each day of the week in the vocabulary curriculum. Like I said, you really only need about 15 minutes a day. On Monday, you have what's called the status of the class, and this is an optional thing that you can do. I really like it because it helps me right away identify which words that week are going to be new words for my kids and which ones are probably words that they've heard before. So I just ask the class to raise their hand. When I call out a word, I say, okay, the word typical, raise your hand if you've never heard it before. And by the way, this isn't a wrong thing. It's okay. You know, you cannot hear the word before. That's fine. Raise your hand if you've seen it, but you don't know it. Raise your hand if you think you know it, but not 100%. And raise your hand if you know it well. So I'll go through the words and I'll ask them those scenarios. And then when I get done, you can see the word ceased. Almost everybody has never seen the word before. So I know as I go through the week that I'm probably going to talk about that word more. Same with the word procrastinate and the word crucial. I've got a lot of people, deadline and typical. So I kind of can identify which words are going to be really new for my kids. Now, if tally marks take too long for you, keep it simple. This teacher sent this to me. She's like, I started with the tally marks and then I was like, I'm just writing numbers. And so she started writing numbers down, but you can see the word click. She had 20 kids who had never seen that word before, which is interesting because this is a 6th grade class of ELL students and they don't know the word click. Middle school is so clicky. What about contemplating? She had 16 and deviated in unison. So she had a lot of kids that probably would need extra help with those words that week. So that's the status of the class. It usually takes, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes to do, and then you'll go into the lesson for the day. Now, everything in the vocabulary curriculum is designed to be on one page, just like my units of study, my intervention program, everything is all designed right there for you on one page. So this is the teacher page for day 1, and you can see that on the top right, teacher page, day 1, and it gives you 4 basic words for the week. And those basic words have the definitions right here. And you're going to introduce those basic words and briefly define each one for the class. These are likely words that they know already, but they're just kind of a review. Then you're going to go ahead and pass out the story for the week, because every week you're going to introduce the tier 2 words within the context of a story. It makes a huge difference whether you give kids a list of words and the definitions versus actually place them in the context of a story or a nonfiction piece. So you're going to pass this out. You might just make copies for kids to share, or you may project it, but having the story ready, it's the first example here is called The Last Straw. And then you're going to use the teacher page and read the introduction. So you can say this. This is like me giving you language right there in the classroom with you. Basically, this is what I would say. The story we're going to read together is called The Last Straw. It's about a boy named Ethan who can't seem to keep his room clean. He gets in big trouble when his mom gets hurt walking through his messy room. Let's read to find out what she does and how Ethan gets in trouble. As I read the story to you, I'm going to stop and share my thinking about what some important words in the story mean. I want you to think about each of these words and what they mean in the story. So that's what I would say. And then I would simply begin reading the story. And as I define the contents words, I'm going to define them as I'm reading the story. So it'll go something like this. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you'll get the idea. Ouch, Ethan, get in here this instant. Instant means right away. He better hurry. Ethan's eyes widened as he heard a crash coming from his room, followed by his mother's scream. Widened mean his eyes got really big like saucers. He quickly put down his video game and rushed into his room. Rushed means he went really fast. I can just picture him like running around the hallway and maybe banging into the wall. As he turned the corner to his room, he saw his mom crouched down, picking Legos out from the bottom of her foot. Crouched means she's bent over. She's picking them out of those Legos out of her foot. So she's bent over or crouched. And you can see as I continue reading, I just stop really quickly and give my own interpretation of what that word means within the context there. And that helps the kids really, oh yeah, that's what crouch means, because they can actually picture the mom bending over with the Legos in her foot. And it's way different than just saying the word crouch means to bend down. There's no picture in your mind when you say that. But when you read it in the context of the story, you can picture what crouch looks like. And so that's why the kids can really just take ownership and remember these words so much better. Every week you have 6 context words, which are tier 2 words. And so after you're finished reading, then you'll introduce the last 4 words, which are common words. Now, it seems like a lot of words every week, but the first 4 and the last 4 should be reviews. They're kind of sandwiching the words that you really want them to learn, the context words in the middle. So the types of words are tier 1 basic words, words that they've likely seen before. You'll briefly introduce these and define them at the beginning. And then the context words are the words that are going to directly impact the meaning of the passage, and you'll read those and define them as you stop and share. And then the last 4, those common words, those are words that have common meanings and are general in nature. So you'll define these after you're done reading, either immediately or you can even define them the next day. And then once you've finished reading, then you will give the students their words. So you can either give them this version of the words or you can give them this version, and then they'll go ahead and put those in their notebooks in the first section of their notebook. And they'll have an assignment that they can work on independently. It looks like this. They'll have the words at the top, and it'll be their job to read the story again to themselves or with a partner. You can have them do it in a partnership or in a group. They'll read the passage, highlight the vocabulary words, and then write the definitions on the back. That's what they do on Monday. Now, they can do this right after you do your lesson. You can put this in a word workstation. You can have them do this as a homework assignment or at a different time in the day. It's really up to you where you can fit that in. That's Monday. That's all you do. And then on Tuesday, we have the same words, and you have your teacher page for Tuesday. And this day is called associating words. This is when you're going to associate the words to a scenario. So this is a really fun activity, and I give you 3 different things you can do here. If I say something that might make you want to beg, say, "Oh, pretty please." If not, don't say anything. And so the class is together, and I'll say, "Going to clean your room." Usually it's crickets. Nobody says, "Oh, pretty please" to that. But see how they have to know what beg means, and they're using other language to really say they're begging. Giving lots of homework. Nobody really says, "Oh, pretty please." If they do, they really probably don't understand what beg means, or they're just being silly. Giving no homework for 2 weeks. Everyone goes, "Oh, pretty please." So it's fun. We're having fun here. Giving extra recess time. Oh, yeah. "Oh, pretty please." Serving only broccoli for lunch. You might have a few kids that say, "Oh, pretty please" to that. If I say something that might make your eyes widen, say, "Oh, my." If not, don't say anything. Going through a regular day, putting on your seatbelt, finding $100 on the playground, watching a huge fireworks show, lining up for music class. If I say something that you would allow, say yes, please. If not, don't say anything. And what's fun with these is sometimes you could get half the class say yes, please, and half the class say no. Like, for example, parents to come to school all day, every day. There might be a few kids that actually think that's cool, and other kids might not, and that's okay. You can get into a conversation about why we disagree and it's okay to have different opinions. But this is Tuesday, so every week you will have 3 situations like this to do with your kids. And of course, you can write down what you noticed the kids doing in this observational section, and you can create your own if I say something scenarios with any of the other words. Maybe when you took your status of the class, you want to focus on a different word, and you can make those up too. But I give you everything you need to get you started with Tuesday. And then for the kids' independent practice, they have an associating words activity where they have to take the word and match it with a scenario. So it's not the word with the definition, it's actually with a scenario. And I have an answer key provided for you with that for Tuesday. You can then have them put that in the connection section of their notebook, or you can collect it for a grade. It's up to you. And you can also have them do any of these extra activities that we went over in the reading notebooks or the vocabulary notebook section that I covered. The connections and the different webs. Here's the Venn diagram. Here's the definition with a scenario. That's Tuesday. So then on Wednesday, you have your own teacher page again for Wednesday, and I give you 10 questions to help them think about the vocabulary, how it can be applied to their own life. Remember the 3rd section in their notebook, in my life? So here we're doing that. You're going to use the provided questions to discuss vocabulary words in relation to the student's own lives. So what would make someone promise something? They have to know the word to understand that. When might you crouch down? Have you ever experienced a time when you crashed? What are some things you might have a handful of? Describe things in your life that are often messy. So notice how all of the questions are asking them things about their own life using the vocabulary words. What are some things you would like to finish quickly? What do you wish your teacher or parents would allow? What have you begged for this week or month? Describe a time you felt helpless. When was the last time you felt rushed? So you have 10 questions here. You can do this as a whole class. You can have them answer these in partners, in small groups. You can make your own questions. And the conversation can be as quick as 10 minutes, or you can have it as long as a half an hour, really, and write any notes that you notice on this side for the week. This teacher was an English language learner teacher, and she decided to make an anchor chart for day 3 so that the students could see the questions, and I thought that was a really great idea. So this example is, what is something that you would like to go unnoticed? And then she wrote what some of the kids said on the right side. Not having the hubby notice when I spend Monday was her answer. And then what was the last urgent thing you had to do? Eat, sleep, finish leveling a game up, getting the internet when you get home. What are you enthusiastic about? Going home, sleeping, going back to, I don't know what VF is, getting a laptop. I love this last one. Describe something you have been contemplating. Choosing the color of your bike, choosing a new device, choosing a new game. So all the kids were responding there. And then for the independent time, they have 6 questions that are different from your whole group lesson that they can answer about the words and applying them into their own lives. You can also throw in some fun activities like putting these little dialogue sticks on. You can laminate them and then put them on a stick and then have them use dry erase markers to write what they might say using the words, and then maybe have everyone hold it up, and that would be a fun activity to do as well. And Thursdays, you have what's called word relationships. And this is a really fun activity too. These are like the would you rather games. It's basically 6 would you rather questions every week. Would you rather beg for a new toy or have a handful of money? Explain your thinking. And you can have the kids get up and move around the room. So if you have fun with it like that, go to this side of the room. Would you rather promise to clean your room or do the dishes? And then they can split up and go to the side of the room that they agree on, and they could see who's agreeing with them, who's on the other side of the room and why, and it's a really fun activity too. Would you rather feel helpless or rushed? Why? Would you rather allow someone to eat your lunch or borrow a sweatshirt for the afternoon? Why? Would you rather have a messy bedroom or school desk? Would you rather find $1 digging in the bottom of a pile of dirty laundry or crouch down in a pile of wet grass? Why? That one's really specific and fun. So you can make your own would you rathers as well and write any notes that you notice on the right side here. And again, this teacher, she decided to make an anchor chart so that her English language learners could see the words a little bit more. Look at the last one. It says, would you rather be in the presence of older or younger kids? Why? And one student said, younger kids because they're cheerful and playful and it causes me to feel the same way. I thought that was so sweet. And then another one said, older kids because younger kids just don't understand what we're going through. That was interesting too. So they can have different opinions. And then for Thursday's independent activity, which you can do right after the lesson or put in a word workstation or a vocabulary station or homework assignment, would be would you rather questions. So you have 4 would you rather questions there. You can put these on rings and put them in a center so they have conversations that go back and forth. They can put them in their notebooks in that third section like I showed you at the beginning as well. And then on Friday, you just have your assessment. Basically, you have 2 formats for your assessment every week. This is one where they have a sentence and they have to fit which word matches the sentence best. And then they have a matching with their definition. So you can give both of these pages and put them together for a grade, or you can just give one as well. It's up to you. And of course, you have answer keys for all of the assessments each week. There are all kinds of additional activities that go along with the curriculum. That what I just showed you was the meat and potatoes, but you can do other things for fun throughout the week too if you have time. And you can put these in centers or small group activities too. There's the acrostic poems. These sentence stems are great. If you've ever had kids try and write sentences with their spelling or their vocabulary words, sometimes they write just really bad sentences, like the word allow, I will allow. That's their sentence. It was messy. So I made these sentence stems. So they had to create really well-written sentences. The sound of a crash came from, and they had to fill in the blank, and they can't just use one word. These 3 questions every week take the kids back to the context of the passage that you introduced the words in on Monday. Then you have these little cards that they can use in all kinds of different ways, like I showed you, where they can share their conversation. Lots of different examples there. You also have vocabulary cards. So every single week, you have the words and the definitions. You can cut these out. You can make a class word wall. And in the upper grades, the clip art is a little different. This is for the younger grades, so you can see that the words and the definition cards are there. You can also put them on rings like this. I've laminated them and put them on rings so that you can continue practicing the words week after week. I made an emoji game, which is really fun for the kids too. Basically, you could put them on the sticks, and when you call out a word, the kids can hold up one of the sticks that matches how they feel or how that word makes them feel or what that word kind of generates. And you can also use this page, which is really fun. You can put this in your In My Life section of the notebook, and the kids basically have to write their vocabulary words next to which emoji they would put it under. And as long as they can explain why they put it into that emoji, it works for me. I like the trouble one up top, missing or taken, secret, disappear. And they could put the word more than one time in a different emoji too. So this is your layout for the week. On Monday, you're going to take your status of the class, which is an optional thing, but I always think it's worth doing. Then you're going to define the basic words, read the passage and define the context words, define the common words, and then they'll have an independent activity. So what's in red is teacher time, and then what's in blue is their time they can do on their own. On Tuesday, you really only need 10, maybe 15 minutes to do the associating words and then for them to do their activity. Wednesday, another vocabulary in my life and their activity. Thursday, word relationships activity. Friday, the assessment really takes about 10 minutes for them. And then if you wanted to do the status of the class again, which is really fun because then you get to see how their votes change. So you're doing a pre-assessment and a post-assessment with the status of the class. And then if you have any activities you want to do that are additional, like the poems or the sentence stems, you can do those too. So really, I say about 15 minutes a day of teacher time because that teacher time That 10 minutes in red there might get stretched to 15, but everything in blue you can have them do any other time during the day or at night. So why did you show up today? Maybe you know your students struggle with vocabulary and you need to find a way to ensure you're providing instruction to increase their skills. So how can you start teaching vocabulary words in an intentional way each day that's best practice and builds students' vocabulary? You can spend time researching vocabulary curriculums and creating your own weekly lessons for the year, or you can grab the vocabulary curriculum that matches your grade level and have everything you need to start implementing a successful vocabulary curriculum today. So do you need a complete, ready-to-go vocabulary curriculum that's easy to manage, fun for students, quick to teach, and provides daily opportunities to learn Tier 2 vocabulary? I'd like to show you the vocabulary curriculum that I have available for grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is for the entire year. And normally, if you purchase them separately, it would be $120. In the bundle, it's discounted to $97, but today I'm offering it to you for 25% off. That means that you can get the entire year for $73, or you can choose a payment plan. You can do 2 payments of $39, which is a great option as well. So inside the curriculum, you'll see every week the status of the class. You have cover pages like this and tabs that you can laminate and put hot glue in and put into your notebook. You have exactly what to do each day of the week, which I went over with you in this webinar. You have teacher pages for day 1, which is the story, your introduction, all the definitions of the words. And then you have the student pages for day 1, which is the story and their work, independent work time after that. For day 2, you have your teacher page, everything on one page. All of the lesson is completed for you. No worries about having to write your own lesson here. And then the student page you have and the answer key provided for Tuesday. And Wednesday and Thursday, you can see teacher pages, everything ready to go for you. So fun. And then the student pages you can use for Thursday or Tuesday, or Wednesday and Thursday. And then you have your assessments at the end of the week. So the matching and the fill in the blank with the sentences. And of course, answer keys for all of those. All of your additional activities are included for each week, and these are really great, again, to plug in any day of the week that you'd like. At the end of your unit, or at the end of each of the 4 units, you have a page like this where the kids have to match the title of the passage with the words from that week and see if they can do it. It's really fun. You can put these on rings too and see if they can match the words with the title of the story from that week. If you want to keep rotating and spiraling in the words throughout the year, this organizational kit is awesome. You can get these at Michael's, and I know on Amazon they have them as well. But I have these tabs for you too, where you can put basically just a few things in to your week 1, week 2, week 3. So if you're on the week 8 and you want the kids to remember the words from week 2, maybe you just throw that box in a vocabulary station or a word workstation, and they can practice the words. They have would you rather cards in there. They can write the words on the emojis because they'll be laminated. You can have the vocabulary cards in there with the definitions for them to review with friends. So you can do a lot of cool stuff with a spiral in the centers like that. This is just a little bit of data from one teacher. Before using the curriculum, she was assessing her kids, and over 5 weeks, 8 out of the 28 students earned a 27%, 10 earned a 36% on their assessment, 15 earned a 54, 6 were earning a 32, and 9 were earning 32. She had basically a 34% pass rate, and these were 6th grade English language learners, okay? So when she started using the new vocabulary curriculum after the first week, 21 of her kids earned a 100 on the assessment. She gave both assessments. They earned a 100. 4 of them earned an 80 to a 99. Only 3 of them earned less than a 65%. So she went from a 34% pass rate, and the old curriculum had less words each week. When she used this new curriculum, they went to an 89% pass rate. How cool is that? And she said 3/4 of her students earned a 100%. She said, before I started the curriculum, I had an average of 34% passing. I knew I had to change the way I taught vocabulary, especially because I teach a high volume of ESL students. She said the first week blew her away. Students were discussing, connecting, and reflecting on each vocabulary every single day. As the week moved on, I could see their confidence building, and when Friday came with a test of 28 questions, I was sure they were going to rock it. I was right. 89% passed. 21 out of 28 students received a 100%. I absolutely believe this curriculum will change the way students view vocabulary and will help build confident readers and writers. And I asked her to to have her students write down their thoughts. And this is what one of the students said. What helped me was it was rigorous. And y'all, she used the word rigorous. That was her word for the week. That was one of the vocabulary words she used. She spelled it wrong, but she used it correctly in the context of her explanation. How cool is that? What helped me was it was rigorous, fun, and at the end I learned 14 new words and I passed it at an 84. Yoji, don't you think she was proud of herself there? I love that. Hudson said, what I really liked about the vocabulary thing, that's so funny, is how we get worksheet every day, which makes me remember it better than our old vocabulary. The thing I enjoyed most with the vocab was the acrostic poems because they helped me find a synonym for those words. Penelope, so sweet. And Haley says, what helped me was the vocabulary in my life and associating words worksheet. It really helped me understand the words more. Isn't that sweet? I love that. So I just want to remind you, it's on sale today. You can get the entire year for $39, two payments of $39 or $73 for the entire year. And I'm telling you, it's going to make a huge difference to be able to introduce your kids to these tier two words every single week. They're going to build their vocabulary, build their confidence, and they're going to leave like amazing growing as readers and writers and thinkers when they build their vocabulary. The comprehension increases, their fluency increases, and it's just a win-win-win-win. I hope you enjoyed this vocabulary webinar and you can take advantage of this special offer. And I look forward to talking to you again soon, either on my Facebook page at Out of This World Literacy or in another webinar or somewhere else along social media. Take care, and I will talk to you again soon. Bye.